Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 Word and to my US Grand Prix preview. And this is a race I generally look forward to every single year. I can't lie, when the Circuit of the Americas first cropped up in F1, I remember thinking, oh, for God's sake, another Tilke track, wonderful. But it did very quickly become one of my favourites, at least when it comes to the newer circuits anyway. We do tend to see some pretty good racing and hopefully we'll see plenty of action again this weekend. And action is certainly what we got last year in Austin. It was a chaotic opening lap. Kimi Raikkonen made a good start and got past pole sitter Lewis Hamilton into turn 1. But behind that we had a load of cars off track on the outside of that first corner, including the likes of Sebastian Vettel, Carlos Sainz and both the McLarens. Then as the field began to snake through those awesome S's, Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll collided, putting the Spaniard out of the race, and the Williams driver got slapped with a drive-through penalty. At turn 12, surprise, surprise, Romain Grosjean went in too hot, hit Charles Leclerc into a spin and drove over the Sauber's front wing, which caused damage to both cars and the Haas retired soon after. Also at turn 12, Vettel went for a move up the inside of Daniel Ricciardo, a move he looked to have got done. However, the German went in too deep and at the next corner, he just tapped the front wheel of that Red Bull and that sent the Ferrari into a spin again. It did calm down a bit after that, although having started down in 18th place, Max Verstappen was on a charge and made his way up to P5 by the end of lap 7. And on lap 9, Ricciardo pulled over to retire from yet another race with a battery issue. I think I said this the other week actually, but what a miserable end to 2018 the Aussie had, at least 2019. Actually, never mind. His retirement brought out the virtual safety car, which gave teams the opportunity to make a cheap pit stop, which Mercedes did take the option on with Hamilton, and that's despite Kimi Raikkonen's cheeky little dummy towards the pit entry to try and throw the Brit off. I loved that. That put Lewis on a 2-stopper, but with both Kimi and Max on 1-stoppers, if he wanted to win that race, he would have to do the overtaking on track. And that set us up for an epic finish, and it actually delivered, unlike last time out in Mexico. With just over 2 laps to go, the top 3 were covered by 2 seconds, with Hamilton right on the tail of Verstappen. Oh, it was a tense race, and the Brit went for a move around the outside of turn 18. He got onto the dirty side of the track, and in the end had to take to the runoff, and that gave the Red Bull some breathing space, but just over 2 seconds still covered the top 3 come the checkered flag. What a race, and what a drive from Kimi Raikkonen, who took his first win in 732 years. Slight exaggeration. Moving on though, let's have a look at some track stats. A lap of the Circuit of the Americas runs for 5.513 kilometres, that's 3.426 miles, and consists of 20 corners, that's 11 to the left and 9 to the right, and come Sunday, we will have a total of 56 race laps. When it comes to lap times though, Lewis Hamilton holds the race lap record after he set a 1:37.392 in 2018, and the Brit also holds the record for the fastest ever lap around a circuit after he nailed a 1:32.237 on his way to pole position last year. So the Circuit of the Americas, or COTA as it has become known, I know that annoys a few of you guys, but it made its first appearance on the F1 calendar back in 2012. In that time it has hosted 7 races, with 3 different drivers taking victory. That's Lewis Hamilton, Sebastian Vettel and Kimi Raikkonen. The pole sitter has gone on to take victory on 3 occasions, with the winner coming from the front row at every single race held at the circuit. Now this weekend we could see the Drivers' Championship wrapped up, and we have seen titles decided in Austin in the past. In 2015, Hamilton clinched the Drivers' title, and both Red Bull and Mercedes were crowned Constructors' Champions at the circuit in 2012 and 2017 respectively. But will Hamilton wrap up his 6th title in Austin? That's the big question. Well, it's a bit more likely than it was last time out in Mexico. This time around, he only needs to finish 8th or higher, and you'd have to say, unless Mercedes have a catastrophic weekend, it looks highly likely that he will do it. After the US Grand Prix, there are a maximum of 52 points available, and with the Brits holding a commanding 74-point lead over teammate Valtteri Bottas, the Finn is going to need a huge slice of luck to keep himself in the fight come Brazil and Abu Dhabi. Quite simply, Bottas must win this weekend and really does need the fastest lap as well. But even with that maximum 26 points, Hamilton would still only need 4 points, and that's that 8th place finish I mentioned a moment ago. If Bottas wins and doesn't take the fastest lap bonus point, then 9th place in the fastest lap would do it for Lewis. However, if Bottas does not win the race, Hamilton would be champion regardless of where Valtteri finished. It has been a foregone conclusion for a while now, but I do think that Hamilton will wrap up title number 6 in Austin. Back to the track then and some of the likely overtaking spots. We will probably see a fair bit of action at turn 1, which is an awesome corner by the way, especially at the start of the race. There is DRS down the start-finish straight as well, and with plenty of runoff on the exit, keep an eye out for some risky late braking moves. We could see some overtaking at turn 11, especially if the drivers get a good run through the S's, but I reckon they'd be better waiting because there is that long DRS run down to turn 12, which is the next spot where we will likely see a lot of action. By the way, gotta say, it wasn't until I went to do these screenshots that I realised just how similar some of these corners seem to look. But anyway, it all gets a bit tight and twisty after that, but as we've seen in the past, you can expect that someone will try something through that sequence of corners and probably throw something up the inside of somebody else into turn 15. We might see some moves through turn 19, especially if drivers run close through the epic turns 16, 17 and 18, but definitely keep an eye on turn 19 regardless, because that could be a spot where track limits are exceeded and probably even punished. Yep, it's going to be another weekend of track limits talk. Although there is a good chance we'll see some good close racing and overtaking in Austin, strategy will, as ever, still play a big part. The tyres available for the weekend are the hard C2, the medium C3 and the soft C4, and that's the same as we saw in Mexico, of course. As touched on earlier, last year's winning strategy was a one-stopper, but Lewis Hamilton did make a two-stop race work and was very close to the top 2 come the end of the race. So maybe, just maybe, we'll see a mix of strategies again this weekend. Although, as we saw last time out, even if multiple stop races are projected, drivers are still more than capable of managing their tyres to force a one-stopper. It is also worth mentioning that teams will be allowed to run the 2020 C4 soft compound during practice on Friday, and it will be interesting to hear what the teams have to say once they've run them, so definitely keep an eye out for that one. When it comes to weather though, no rain is forecast, but as Pirelli points out in their preview, the weather can vary at the circuit, and so I suppose you can never really rule it out completely. But at time of recording, and according to the Met Office, all sessions should remain dry, although there will be some cloud cover on Friday morning and during the race on Sunday, which is obviously going to have an impact on track temperatures. Right then, that is all the stats and the title permutations, and I will get onto my predictions in just a moment. But first, I want to give you a quick heads up about 2021. Later today, Formula 1 will be revealing their long-awaited plans for the sport, which will kick in at the end of next season. We've already seen renders of how the cars could look. We've heard some of the plans when it comes to the technical regulations and cost caps as well. It is a massive day for the sport and a big one for Liberty Media as well. This is their first chance to overhaul the regulations and put their stamp on the sport. There are still a few whispers of a possible delay, with reports this morning saying that Ferrari and Williams are against such an idea. They feel that even though the new regulations might be a bit what they're calling green, it is better to get on with it rather than keep pushing them back. As I mentioned during one of the streams last weekend, Christian Horner has previously talked about the idea of a cost cap coming into force at the end of 2020, and the new technical regulations actually being pushed back and kicking in 2022. The thought process behind that seems to be that it will prevent the big teams spending well over the cap before it comes in, as they develop the 2021 car, thus still leaving smaller teams at a disadvantage. It sounds as though that idea is unlikely to happen, you never know though, I guess. And of course there is also still the possibility that Ferrari could veto things, so watch this space. Finally on this, Chase Carey has come out and said that there is no deadline for the teams to sign up to the new Concord agreement, although I'd imagine it will need to be before the first race of 2021. I know, right? Shocker. Anyway, I am planning a video or stream with Chainbear where we'll discuss the 2021 regulations, but that will likely be next week now. But I will certainly keep you all posted on it over on Twitter, so if you are interested, then make sure you are following me over there. As ever, the links that you need are in the description below. Anyway, back to the preview, and it's time for some quick predictions. Look, I know I'm absolutely crap at these, but it's a bit of fun, and it gives you lot the chance to give me some grief over the weekend. Honestly, I have no idea which way to go with these. I didn't think Mercedes had a hope in hell of winning in Mexico, and if you believe them, neither did they. Yet they did, and they got Bottas on the podium as well. I mean, their strategy was spot on, but they also had much better race pace than I expected, so who really knows? And you know what? That's a good thing. I don't want to go into every weekend knowing who's going to be on pole and knowing who's going to win. I like not knowing. Historically, Mercedes have won 4 of the 7 races in Austin, with Ferrari, Red Bull and McLaren all taking 1 win each. And the track should suit the Silver Arrows very nicely, but with the long straight between turns 11 and 12, you really can't write off Ferrari, and Red Bull have been strong over the last couple of years as well, with Verstappen making it to the podium in 2017, or at least a cool-down room before he got a penalty, and he did actually set foot on the podium last year despite starting 18th. I do still think that Ferrari will have the advantage over one lap, so I'm going to go with Vettel for pole, perhaps even an all-red front row. But come the race with the championship on the line, he loves the track as well. I just can't see anyone but Hamilton winning, and with it, he's going to wrap up that championship as well, obviously. Behind the leaders though, I would expect McLaren to be strong again. Hopefully it won't all fall apart on race day as it did in Mexico. But keep an eye on Racing Point as well. They were one of the surprises for me last time out, certainly Perez anyway. Also, I would really like to see Haas do well. It is their home Grand Prix, they've had a miserable time of it lately, and it would just be great to see them grab a point or two. Overall though, I am really looking forward to this one, and we need to enjoy it, because after this weekend, there are just 2 races left of the 2019 season. Just 2. That is it then for the US Grand Prix preview, but you can let me know your thoughts ahead of the weekend and your predictions as well, of course, down in the comment section. And also, what are you expecting from the 2021 announcement? It's going to be a very interesting day. Now, I will be back soon with more content as ever, but in the meantime, don't forget that you can, of course, follow me over on social media, and all of the links you need for that are in the description down below. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean, this has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.